I am going to be teaching how to make some gluten and dairy-free hand pies. But first, I gotta make that dough. That's right. I gotta make the dough up ahead of time. Even though my clients, yes, they're going to be making their own dough for class, but I need that dough to be ready. And the reason being is because I need to allow for the dough to hydrate for hours on end, because it's just gonna make it that much better. You know all those rules that you knew about baking way back when? Maybe if you baked from time to time before you became, say, allergen or gluten-free in particular? Well, guess what? Those all change when it comes to the gluten-free world. Because, you know, all those starches that you see listed at the back of your bag, and you're just like, what the heck are all of these? Yeah, well, guess what those are? Starches that take a really long period of time to hydrate is what they are, okay? So you need those to hydrate really, really well so that you end up with a dough that's going to be pliable, a dough that's not going to stretch or become misshapen once it comes out of the oven or after you've rolled it. You also want something that's not going to be crumbly, dusty, and just outright don't want to eat it because it's disgusting. So you've got to make your doughs up ahead of time. And a lot of these rules actually apply to the rules. There's many, okay? These rules apply to scones and cookies and breads and cakes and way too much stuff. So that's why I'm going to be making this dough ahead of time. Now, with this dough, you might be like, okay, well, what are you using? I'm using a plant-based butter. I am using some coconut milk. I am going to be using a gluten-free flour mix. Oh, here's one of the other rules that they don't actually tell you. You can just find them in bits and pieces and in all sorts of different articles that are out there in the interwebs. You need to make sure that if that recipe specifies a certain flour that you need to be using, then don't deviate. Do yourself a solid, just don't deviate. So I'm gonna get this all whipped up here, and then I am going to roll it up and get it into a little tiny package, flatten it out, because it's gonna be that much easier to roll out. I don't have to worry about it getting too tremendously misshapen. And if you're interested in seeing like how that can actually be rolled out so you don't end up with some misshapen mess by the end of it that bounces back on you all the time, then head on over to my hand pies video, my apple hand pies video, that is. And that will show you the proper rolling technique. It's one that I've used back when I was a pastry chef, making my puff pastry dough and rolling it out and making sure that it was gonna like become upright like I needed it to and act like a nice sturdy piece of dough for me to make stuff with, like vol au vents and tiny little, lovely little petit fours. So check it out, check that video out. It's a good one. And seeing how hopefully we're coming upon apple season. If it doesn't get too crazy warm and we have some more rain, that would be great. Then we're gonna have some nice tasty apples so you can make some apple hand pies dough. Okay, apple hand pies, that is. So the dough is looking pretty good. You don't wanna mix it too much. You just kinda wanna mix it until it's nice and shaggy, but you'll see that in the video. And I'm just gonna gather this together and pack it and wrap it up into some plastic wrap. Ta-da! Yeah, so if you ever have any questions or you're like interested in taking a class, then I would love to have you in. I teach like pretty much 5 days a week in person here in my fabulous little kitchen. I'm even happier to teach online if you want. So you don't have to fly here. Like I just found out one client who had signed up for a class and she was all excited and I learned she was actually flying in. Yeah, tell you what, I can teach you in person. I'd be more than happy to do that. So don't do that. Okay, so wrapping it up, getting it on the plastic wrap, and voila! Now my students for tonight's class have some dough to play with and to make their lovely hand pies. So thanks for listening, and maybe you've learned a thing or two about some gluten-free doughs, and pastries and you'd like to come take a class. I hope to see you soon.